Welcome to the Think Yourself Healthy podcast, where we challenge you to think differently about your approach to health and wellness. My name is Heather Duranja, and I'm excited to be here with you to take you on the journey from surviving to thriving. Hello, everybody. On today's episode of Think Yourself Healthy, I have two very special guests. I might be biased because they are my daughters, but they are the most beautiful, amazing young women, and I am excited to have a conversation with them today. This is the first Mother's Day that we are getting the opportunity to spend together in a little bit, I guess probably over 5 years.
It's 5 years.
Yeah, so for those of you that are listening and don't know, we'll kind of share the story of what brought us to this point in our lives. But I thought it would be a fun change of pace to bring them on the podcast in honor of Mother's Day and kind of talk about our journey and what we've been through. It definitely has not been caviar dreams and champagne wishes, but we are turning into that. And so here we go. I'd like to introduce you to Hannah and Alyssa Duranja.
Hello.
So ladies, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is Alyssa Duranja. As she just said, I am 20 years old and I recently just moved out to California, August of 2020. And when we're recording this, it is May of 2021. So I've only been out here for less than a year, but I'm so excited. It's a new journey for my mom and I and my sister. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I am Hannah. I am 25 and I have been out here for about 5 years now, coming up this July. So yeah.
Yes. So in honor of Mother's Day, I woke up this morning with serious cramping. I guess God wanted to remind me of what it felt like to be in child labor almost 25 years ago when I had Hannah, which is just insane to me to think that she's going to be turning 25 just in a couple of weeks.
Did I say I was 25? No, I said 24. Did I say 25?
Well, you're going to be 25. So
I'm already 25
She's
in my
25
mind.
in a month.
I'm 24. Okay, I'm not there
Living
yet.
up her last days.
Almost halfway to 50,
Why?
baby.
25, you can rent a car.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
perks.
Yeah.
Perks.
Woo, woo.
So it's really crazy to me to believe that I have been a mother for as long as I have. It's honestly been the best blessing, the most amazing thing that ever happened to me. When I got pregnant with Hannah, I was so desperate to have a little girl. I remember sitting there and praying to God to give me a girl because I had so many brothers that I helped to raise. And the thought of having another little boy was just absolutely terrifying. It legit was terrifying. I wanted a princess. I wanted girls. I never imagined that I would have had two girls. So when Alyssa came along, I had been told that I was going to be having a boy. And so we were prepared to bring a little boy home. And then with Alyssa, we had quite the surprise after surprise in terms of her birth. And she ended up coming emergency cesarean, and she was a girl. So I feel so blessed to be the mother of these two beautiful young ladies, and I could not be more proud of them and where they're at today.
I love you.
We haven't had an easy journey, and Alyssa and I specifically, we've definitely had a little bit more of a challenging road, and that's something that I kind of want to share with you guys today, because mothers tend to be really hard on themselves, and I want to share our story with the mothers and daughters out there that are listening. And maybe our story will help someone else either forgive themselves or forgive others. And so one of the first questions I want to chat with you girls about is, when I was making the decision to get divorced a little over 10 years ago, I was really scared. I was very frightened. I was worried about how it was going to impact you and, what you guys would think of me for this choice. I think that a lot of mothers out there stay in unhealthy relationships because they're fearful of how it's going to impact their children. And so I'm curious to hear from your guys' perspective, you know, how this did impact you. And I want to hear the good, the bad, or the bad and the good. You know, I just want your personal experience from that moment and that decision that was made.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. So I guess when you and Dad split, I was 9 years old. I was like 8 to 9 years old. So I was a little bit younger, and I think it kind of was a benefit about, you know, being at that age, because yes, I had memories of, like, you know, all of us as a family, but it doesn't mean that my memories were always good. Like, I remember the bad memories, and I do remember, you know, how traumatic it was for you specifically, Mom. And it was confusing for me because I couldn't, you know, wrap my mind around, you know, why things were so bad. And I knew, like, between you and Dad, you guys were trying to protect us, but at the same time, it definitely felt like, you know, me and Hannah were caught in the middle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Hannah and I were definitely caught in the middle of the situation. And I can't say, like, you know, at that time I was feeling, you know, proud of you for leaving or feeling mad. You know, it was just confusing. Like, I was young and I wasn't old enough to really rationalize, like, oh, Dad hurt Mom, or Mom and Dad just couldn't figure their problems out. So it was just a confusing time. I had to move schools. Like, my whole life completely changed. But I don't, you know, harbor any negative feelings towards the divorce. I think that it created Hannah and I to be the people we are today, and it overcame so many, you know, we overcame so many challenges at such an early age that it only made us stronger. And, you know, our story is a little bit different. My mom and our story is a little bit different because I was kind of like, I had to choose who I wanted to live with at a certain point, and I knew it was going to hurt one or the other. But at the end of the day, I chose, you know, the decision that I think was the best for myself. Whether, you know, you couldn't understand it at the time, and I couldn't understand why you were choosing to, you know, move, and we'll get all into that. But as I got older and matured, I definitely got more compassionate towards the situation and understood. But I know for Hannah, it was a lot different. Like, her side of the story was
very different. So, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So when they got divorced, I was in 8th grade going into my freshman year. So my whole life growing up, I had this picture perfect family, and I remember all the good things. Obviously, there were little bad memories in there as well, but like, it's what happens in a marriage and a relationship. Like, you have your ups and downs, and I get that. So when they got divorced, it really messed me up. It was hard at first, and because I was kind of Mom's little sidekick, and I was her little detective, and we have some interesting memories with the actual divorce and all that, and it was hard. But I'm not going to get too much into it, but like, looking back now, like, I would not change anything at all, because it really helped shape me into who I am, and now I'm a badass bitch, and I know what not to put up with. And I don't know. I feel like it was really hard because I was going into high school, but at the same time, I was like, ooh, yeah, they're dealing with that, so they're not going to pay much attention to me and what I'm doing. So I was in a super toxic relationship, and I was out doing things I shouldn't be doing and hanging around the wrong people. But hey, I was having fun. You know, like, I had a good time, and I learned a lot from those years of my life, and I feel like it really benefited me in the best way possible. Like, I was really bitter at first, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, we had the perfect life. Like, I was just in such denial that, I don't want to say the wrong things. I was just in such denial with what I was told and what I heard, and like, seeing different sides of both of my parents, and it was a shock. So yeah, it was tough, but made me really strong. So I wouldn't change it for the world, because now my dad's happy, my mom's happy, and if they didn't separate, I wouldn't be here in California today. I wouldn't be working where I work. I wouldn't have the car that I have. Like I wouldn't have the friends that I have. So
you wouldn't have grown into the resilient woman.
Exactly.
That you are today,
So,
possibly.
I am thankful for that rough patch in my life. I feel like I experienced things, went through hardships before like any of my friends. Like I saw things that other people didn't see. And I feel like it really, I don't know.
Yeah. And to kind of bounce off of that, I mean, for me, it definitely made me grow up a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more independent. I was home alone at night, at 10, 11 years old, and Hannah was out with her friends. So I was at grandma's house just doing whatever I wanted to, that caused me to go on YouTube and surf the internet, whatever. But, I will say that's something that I think a lot of children of divorce, they're forced to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're forced to deal with situations that, I think most children shouldn't have to. So I do think if there's one thing that we can share today is maybe to protect your children and their innocence and letting them be kids and putting, your hard feelings aside and putting the children first. Because I remember hearing over and over again, you and Hannah are top priority. You and Hannah are top priority, but it never felt like it because we had mom, who was telling us about dad and dad telling us about mom. And so it was exhausting and it was, mentally hard for a 10-year-old and a 14, 15-year-old girl who's going through puberty to rationalize, why are they saying these things? Like, is this the truth? And it wasn't the truth. That was their truth, but it doesn't mean it was our truth. And so, that's something I had to overcome, and it definitely made me mature, but missing out on a lot of events. And I felt like, an outsider because I was a new girl at my school and my parents were going through a nasty divorce. And I always felt like the parents of my friends would kind of check in on me. Yeah. And that always made me feel weird. Like, oh, am I the outsider? Am I the weird kid? Because my parents, divorce is public and kids know that I'm going through something different than they are. So I don't know. I think that.
Well, one thing I want to say is that unfortunately for us, we did not have an amicable divorce. And so it was a very, very toxic situation. And it was one of those incidences where we couldn't all be in the same room and share moments together and go to a recital or go to a school performance and be some sort of unity of a family. There was a lot of, emotions that were involved and a lot of hard feelings that made it very difficult for us to even be in the same room. And ironically enough, we just celebrated a little over 10 years of divorce. And I think just a couple of weekends ago was the first time the four of us had been together in the same room, just the four of us since before the divorce, which is kind of mind-boggling. But we've all grown in many ways. But there is something that I do want to share that I know for myself and probably many other mothers or fathers face when they go through divorce, especially when it's a divorce that, isn't amicable. There's a lot of heartache that was involved. For me, I never imagined that I would have been divorced. So that, when I took that vow, it was till death do us part. I was raised Catholic. And so this was something that I took seriously. I knew that our relationship had a lot of flaws, but those were things that I had been taught you were supposed to just muscle through and deal with it. And in 2009, I lost my father. And after the loss of my father, that really made me rethink a lot of things in my life and what I was experiencing and also the potentials of what my girls would experience. And I wanted to try to change the trajectory of that potential pain and suffering that was coming. But what I didn't realize is that when I made the decision to get divorced, it was a very challenging time. I was going to school and we had to move in with my parents. And so not only did the girls have all of the confusion of, split up parents and having two different sides, but then they also had a whole nother set of parents that came into the picture in terms of my parents, my brothers. They had a lot of people who were telling them what to do and how to act and how to be. And for myself at that time, I emotionally shut down. I was so overwhelmed. I was so overstressed. I was just literally in a state of shock for a while. And I know that I was going through the motions of life, but like Alyssa had mentioned earlier, I really wasn't present. And when I think back to those times, and I was so caught in my shit, I was so victim. I was so hurt. I was so confused. I was scared. I was scared to death. I didn't know how I was going to do life on my own. I didn't know where I went from there. I knew I couldn't live in the basement of my parents for the rest of my life and raise the girls in their basement. And it was just a really, really challenging, depressing time. And unfortunately, because of that, I went through the motions, but there were many, many nights, days, weeks, months that we just checked boxes and we didn't really connect. And it really impacted my relationship with the girls, with everyone around me, in a lot of negative ways. People couldn't understand what I was going through. I didn't understand what I was going through. And I really just leaned into being the victim and feeling sorry for myself and allowing fear to really stranglehold me in terms of being able to step up to the plate and realize that I was the co-creator of my life and that I got to choose how I showed up for my girls and for my family and for myself. And that took a long time for me to figure out. And unfortunately, it led me to entering into other unhealthy relationships that the girls had to be exposed to.
Man, they're great stories though. We have some good stories. Good stories.
Yeah, definitely some good stories, but it's all been a lot of lessons that we've all learned from. I am so grateful to be blessed with these two girls. They have been my rocks. They have been my everything, my drive for wanting to heal myself, to become a better person, to learn to trust myself, follow my intuition, and take risks. And despite all of the noise and the programs that were going on around us, I decided that we were going to do things differently, and we weren't going to just play out the old scenario of life, and we were going to do it on our terms with this unique opportunity that had been presented. And as Alyssa mentioned, after our divorce, we went through a really nasty custody battle. Like 2 years after we had been divorced, a custody battle got initiated. And that was a really, really challenging time. And that got drawn out, at least 2 years. And one of the things that, I kind of want to talk about is that I operated a lot out of fear going through these court processes and fearing the loss of custody of my girls. And that caused me to change the way that I parented. I had always been kind of the stable disciplinary person in the family, and was very consistent with the way that I had raised them and disciplined them and encouraged them. And when I was faced with this custody battle, I was scared to death they were going to pick their dad. I was absolutely frightened. Oh, I was.
But Hannah was.
That was a part of my life. Like, honestly, going through the custody, I blurred that out. I don't really remember it because I held so much resentment towards my dad. I knew, and I was always a mama's girl. Like, I've always been so close to my mom. I knew that.
You were also 17.
Once that, yeah. And I was like, I'm going to do what I want.
So you didn't fall into really, like, you were at that age where the courts, it didn't matter what you chose because you were considered an adult at that point. So they didn't fight really custody over you. It was just your decision. Whereas me, I was going and meeting with lawyers. I was going and sitting in the courtroom talking to, a representative.
A guardian
representative who was sitting here and like asking me hard questions. And it was hard because at that time, both sides I felt like were trying to brainwash. They were.
Sorry, but that was the whole divorce.
Yeah. And so I didn't have a stable life at that point because my mom was with a guy in a relationship with a guy that I despised. I mean, I have had an intuition ever since I was younger, and he was one that red flags came up, and I just didn't feel safe with him. And then she didn't, she wasn't in a mental or emotional space to really understand what I was going through, because she thought she was making the right decision, because in her eyes, we had a house, he had money, which was security. So, things were okay. But then in my dad's eyes, he was still he was still drinking at the time, which I don't know if we've mentioned, but our dad was an alcoholic, and he was drinking. So I don't think he was thinking rationally ever. And he was still kind of going through the motions. But when we would get around dad, he would pretend like everything's fine. So it was hard because, you're around one parent who you can clearly see that this is, taking a toll on them, which was my mom. And then my dad, I knew he was up to no good, but he would cover it up, And so I was stuck with the decision of, okay, who do I want to live with? Who's going to provide me more security? And I think that, it was really hard for me to go through that. And at that point, Hannah was kind of checked out. She was in a relationship, so I couldn't really.
Super toxic.
Yeah, Hannah was in a super toxic.
We were all doing a lot of trauma bonding.
Yeah.
A lot of trauma bonding, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad that we are to the place that we are now today, and we've recognized those patterns that we were playing out from our circumstances, and we've had the courage to be able to challenge them and show up for ourselves and put our best foot forward to try and become and evolve into better people, all the while still trying to strengthen our relationships and be there for each other in ways that we couldn't be earlier on. And so I know as a mother, I harbored a lot of shame and guilt towards myself for decisions that I've made with the divorce, with relationships that came after the divorce, with having to give custody of Alyssa up to her father. That was honestly one of the hardest decisions that I ever made. And after that choice, I decided that I was going to move to California so that I could at least get Hannah into a healthier environment and try and give herself and myself a new opportunity at creating a life of our dreams. And it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
We just celebrated our 5th year of being here.
Her 5th year, not mine.
Well, not mine. Sure. Well, you came out here with me. And
I came out for the first time, and what a time it was. That was when we drove, right?
Yes.
And we got chased through the whole entire state of Utah.
Yeah.
By
some
a psycho.
Absolutely.
That was the most memorable and fun road trip I've ever been on. Just chugging Red Bulls, just having a great time.
Were they Red Bulls or were they Monsters at that
They were
time?
probably
They were
the
Monsters.
white-
Yeah, I was
white
going to say they were
Monsters.
white Monsters, and Hannah and I drove 27 hours straight.
We went straight.
We were
straight
supposed
through.
to stay overnight in Chicago, and we had planned to stay with Taylor's parents, or not
I'm like,
Chicago,
that's going
Colorado. My bad.
I'm like, wait.
Colorado. We were supposed to stay the night in Colorado with Taylor's parents, and they were living in Colorado at that time. And Hannah and I was chugging through Colorado.
We were like, let's keep going.
At about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we were like, let's just keep going. We had no idea that when the sun went down, what we would be entering into in Utah.
It was pretty scary.
Oh my gosh. So for those of you listening, we had a psychopath literally chase us for what, 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah. And the scariest thing was it's the middle of the night. There are no street lights anywhere. There's no sign of anyone else, like anywhere near, no gas stations, no cars on the highway, like nothing.
I think they were trying to sex traffic.
They were trying to run us off the road.
He was trying to run us off the road. He was a psycho.
He was in a minivan, and I noticed
Kentucky plates.
Yeah, he gets up on our ass, and his hazards are on. And so I think it was like a 2-lane.
Yeah,
highway.
we were on one lane.
Yeah.
So it was one lane each side, and there was a concrete median in the middle. And so we had nowhere to go. It was either the side of the cliff or hit the median.
But then it got to 2 lanes, and what he would do
That's right.
was he would get over, like get from behind us, speed up, try and cut us off.
Mhm.
And then he would just slam. If he couldn't cut us off, he'd slam on his brakes and then just ride our ass again. And he was like, wasn't he like honking?
He
He
was
like laying on the
honking. He
horn.
was flashing his lights.
Yes.
We couldn't call 911 because we
No
had no
service.
cell service. It was like 2:00 in the morning through, gosh, well, I guess it started probably around 1:00 in the morning, and then it lasted until 6 in the morning when we pulled into Nevada.
We got rid of him. And then we're like, let's go get some gas and some food. We got rid of him. I think we're safe. There's people around. We pull up. My mom goes inside, and I see the van. And I think I called you, or you came back.
I came back to the car,
and I was like, Mom, that's him. Like, that's the guy. So we go inside, and this man has jeans on. He's got like those long white socks with his jeans tucked into his socks.
Like a total creeper.
He was
yeah, he was older. He was like in his late 50s, early 60s. He was obviously ex-military, and I waited for him outside the male's restroom.
This was the best part.
The entire gas station was loaded with like 50 people in there. And I waited for him to come out of the restroom, and I just jumped in his face and started screaming and yelling at him.
I remember what you said. I remember. You're like, you sick motherfucker. I was like, you're getting off on this, aren't you? You were like, what is your problem? Blah, blah, blah. All this man says, bitch, I work for the FBI. And we were like, what? Like, we were just like so dumbfounded. We were like, that's what you have to say.
Right. And then we called 911, tried to report him. He got on the highway, and who knows
Never saw him
whatever
again,
became
thank
of that
God.
man. But seriously,
weird.
I remember when we were making that trip and you're hearing all of the horror stories about women driving
like,
by themselves
Hills
through the
Have Eyes
night.
shit. This is some Hills Have Eyes shit.
My dad was a over-the-road truck driver, so naturally he was very fearful of Hannah and I making this trip and wanted to make sure we wouldn't be driving through the night. And so I was like, we can't tell anyone. we got to keep this a secret. We can't tell anyone. And then eventually we ended up sharing.
Well, here we are on a podcast.
But yeah, that was a really scary time.
I remember we were like shaking.
Yeah,
like,
it was adrenaline for hours and hours and hours. It was very, very scary.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've definitely had some experiences, haven't we, ladies?
Yeah.
I was just thinking of that trip. Like, that was so much fun.
Yeah, we
With your
definitely
one girlfriend. Is that the time we went up to LA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
got roofied.
I don't know what all I can say.
Someone
on here,
got
so
roofied and
had to carry her up 3 flights of stairs. And,
we went to go see my favorite comedian, Eliza.
Eliza, yeah.
I had been absolutely obsessed with Eliza, and I was all excited because I was having an opportunity to meet her. And then I met her and I was like, ugh. You know how when you meet that person that you've idolized your whole life and you have this idea of who you think they are, and then you meet them and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so disappointing.
Like, you're a bitch.
Yeah, she was a bitch. We were like,
I remember that.
Can't believe we drove all this way. Just yeah, those were good.
That was a good
times.
night, though.
It was good. It was good. Yes. So anyway, ladies, is there anything that you guys want to share about the last 10 years of your life that you think could maybe inspire someone who has been in similar circumstances or is going through something similar to this, or maybe a mother out there or a father out there who is in an unhealthy relationship and is contemplating getting divorced and really scared to do so because they're worried about how it's going to impact their children?
My advice is do what's best for you, because at the end of the day, it's going to be what's best for everybody. Like your kids, like I said, it was hard at first, but I would not change it for the world. Like, I'm so happy with where I am today and who I've become throughout that process. And my mom is happy, and that is all that matters. My dad is happy. And, you know, you really got to do what's best for you, and your kids will eventually understand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, we didn't really get into it, but as my mom said, like, I chose to stay with my dad. And at that time, I knew that was kind of the best for me. I had moved every year of my life, switching schools, and
From the time of the divorce.
from the time of the divorce. So I literally every year I was bouncing back between schools, and it's, it was hard, but I also didn't want to move across the country when I was 14 years old, transitioning into a teenager. And I just wanted a stable life. And, it was hard because I was losing my sister and my mom, who, Hannah was my best friend at that time. Like,
Still are.
Still am. I was young, which I don't know if I should say this, but I was like, 14, 13 years old, partying with my sister's friends, getting into the bars at Main Street. And
What?
yeah, we definitely lived a time. And, after that, seeing Hannah move and my mom move, I do not hold any hard feelings. It was hard because I was upset with my mom. Like, why do you want to move so far away from me? And we definitely had a bumpy road. And bottom line is I was too young to understand the decision she made was for the long run and not just in the moment. Whereas like I can only think so short term, and everything for me was always short term, because if one parent said something, I would run to the other parent. So I always kind of got away with like running.
Oh, I
Playing
did
both
too. I did
sides,
too.
yeah.
Mom told me no. I'm like, cool, I'm going to dad's house.
And
Dad says no, I'm going to my boyfriend.
so I always was like, I felt like I got away with a lot, and there was no parental vision over me. Like, I had freedom, pure freedom. So since I was like 13 years old, I feel like I've been living at like a 20-year-old. Like,
well, yeah, you were.
Well, and
grew
for
up
me-
with my friends.
For me, that was a very frustrating time as well, because I was going to school, I was getting a master's, I was working full time and having to bartend nights and weekends to try and make ends meet. And so it made it very challenging to try and be a disciplinary parent.
and not only that, I didn't have respect for you. And I think that's something that a lot of young teenage girls with their mother, it's a common thing is, you get to this age where you don't want to respect your mom. And I just felt, like I could get away with anything. So when my mom did try to be a mom, I would just shut her down really quick. And, that's something I've had to overcome. And I went and saw a therapist for many years of my life, because I was manipulative. I would manipulate both of my parents if I didn't get what I want. Like I would go to the other one, and then, that's something.
Play each side against
I
each
played each side, but that's also what I was taught to do, and so that's why I think it's so important that if you do have a kid or children, or, if you are a children of divorced parents, it's okay to go and get therapy. It's okay to speak about, maybe your wrongdoings in the part, because I know for me and my mom, it was our way of really overcoming our hardships and creating a motherly daughter bond, because I didn't allow her to. And I just, was very, I don't want to say I wasn't emotionally closed off, but I was stubborn and didn't want to hear it, because I already been living this life and I thought I was just on top of the world. I was just this grown up, and reality is I just turned 20. I still need my mom, and so it's okay to go through hardships, but as long as you overcome them and heal and learn, and then you understand and be compassionate towards the person you were dealing with, in this case, it was my mom, then everything's going to be okay. Like, you just have to be the person that wants to choose better for themselves. So like Hannah said, do what's going to be best for you,
So I do have one thing I want to mention. We have a little celebration. We have broken the family history of teenage pregnancy officially. Alyssa turned 20 and I am not a grandma. Hannah will be 25, still not a grandma. So we have broken that historical pattern. My mother was 17. I was 19 when I had Hannah. And so it's exciting to see those generational bonds being broke and history not repeating itself.
Yeah.
However, I think that it's taken us to do a lot of things outside of the box and going against the grain of what, we had been taught and encouraged to do. When I said I wanted to move to California, everyone was like, are you fucking crazy? Like, why would you want to do that? You want to leave a state that's affordable and move to the most expensive state in the United States? And I was like, yep, I sure do. Yep. So anything is possible if you allow yourself to, follow your heart and believe in yourself. Most importantly, you can achieve anything that you want. So I'm curious, where do you guys think we would be if things hadn't gone the way they did and we stayed in that situation?
For me, pregnant, married, or dead.
Or in jail.
Yeah.
Or in jail. Like
I would say in jail.
Thank you so much.
Well, towards the end, the cops were at our house, like literally weekly.
So let's go back. So Hannah would probably have been in jail, we would think. And at that time, we were mean girls, I would say.
I was just a drug addict. I was just trying to numb pain. I was trying to run away from my feelings and my problems, and I would avoid my family. I would avoid anything.
I saw the writing on the wall. I knew what needed to be done. I was very scared. And I'm so proud of you for having the courage to trust me.
Yeah, honestly, moving to California is the best thing that ever happened to me. Change is good. Change is growth. Don't be afraid of change. If you want something bad enough, you will work your ass off to make it happen. Don't self-doubt. Don't self-sabotage. Like, just go get what you want. Go do it.
If you feel fear, embrace the fear, fight through it. Know that you're stronger than you're giving yourself credit for. Know that you don't need the support of others, that as long as you know in your heart what is best for you. I think that is the most important lesson that we all learned. I know for myself, I kept running away from believing that I could truly take care of myself and the girls, and that I could do it on my own, and that I was strong enough. And then forcing myself into a situation where I had no other choice was honestly the best thing that happened, because it showed me how strong I actually was and what we were capable of achieving. And, we truly are so blessed. We are so fortunate, so blessed. I'm the luckiest mother in the world to have such an amazing relationship with both of these girls. I feel that we share a special bond as mother and daughters that a lot of mother and daughters don't have. And I am very grateful for that. I know that many judged me for some of my practices. I was I had a very strong belief in being honest with my girls. I never wanted to lie and deceive them, because that is something that I had experienced myself and did not want, because it really created a lot of trust issues for me. And no matter how challenging it was, I wanted to be able to be honest with the girls. And we've definitely had a lot of honest conversations that have unfortunately caused them to have to grow up, and see things and hear things that a lot of children shouldn't. But through those difficult, challenging moments, we've learned things about ourselves. We've learned things about each other. But most importantly, we've learned how to communicate. We've learned how to express our voices, share things. I was an emotionally shut down person for a very, very long time. I didn't know how to express my feelings. I didn't know how to express the pain and everything that I was going through. I literally just lived my life in fear. And through that fear, I knew that if I didn't choose to do something differently, then the trajectory of our lives were not looking very promising. And I did not want that for us. I wanted us to be able to step up and live our best lives. And here we are. Yeah, we are. So I just want to, tell you ladies how proud I am of you. You mean the world to me. I could not be more honored to call you both my daughters. You have so many gifts and so much to offer the world, and it just makes me so proud every day to watch you living your best lives and facing your moments of facing your moments of darkness and learning how to shine your light and navigate your ways through that. And I'm very proud of you, and I look forward to seeing where, the rest of the journey continues for both of you. I know that many amazing things are in your future, and you guys are both living your purpose and speaking your truth, and it's just beautiful to see.
We wouldn't be able to without you, though.
Yes.
So thank you for being such a supportive and a loving mother. I mean, you have taught us so many valuable things that we're going to be able to share with our children and even friends. And I think you being strong and choosing, better and choosing to be okay with, owning up to mistakes, because that's the whole bottom line is you've always owned up to your wrongdoings, and it's been a lesson. And it saved me and Hannah lots of lessons. And so we wouldn't be half of the woman we are today without you. So thank you for being such a strong motherly figure in our life, and we love you dearly.
I love you. I couldn't ask for a better Mother's Day. I feel so blessed to be able to have this honest heart-to-heart conversation with both of you, and to be able to share our story with others. And hopefully someone listening will maybe choose to forgive themselves or choose to forgive someone else through our courage. And, you can reach out to us if you have any questions or need some support. So I'm curious, Alyssa, what is your favorite thing about Hannah?
Oh God. Oh, there's so many things. Probably Hannah's just overall energy. I mean,
Stop.
That's it is.
Stop
it
it.
is, because I can't be like, it's one thing. It's your energy.
Yeah.
Like the
Girl, stop. It's untouchable.
The energy she brings into the room is unstoppable.
No matter where Hannah goes, her presence is known.
But the cool thing is she always pushed me, because I've always been, I think, the more shyer sister.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah. And so having Hannah be like, this is not what we're going to do. What we're going to do is be bold, and we're going to speak our truth, and we're going to make our presence known. It's probably my favorite thing.
And Hannah, what is
everything about this girl? This girl is my pride and joy. I feel like I birthed her myself. I love her more than anything. I would take a bullet for you.
Aww.
I have to say the same about you, but your sense of humor, I've really shaped you into a funny little thing.
You're taking credit.
Thank you.
No, you always know how to put a smile on my face. I love the crackhead energy. It's just, you are one of a kind. You are one of one, baby.
Thank you.
I love you more than anything.
So I want to ask you both, Alyssa, share one of your favorite mommy memories from when you were little.
Okay.
Okay. All the times, either in the Charger or the Sonata, jamming either Black Eyed Peas, Macy Gray, Far East Movement. Shakira, Christina Aguilera. I can keep going.
Yes.
The concerts we had in the car were so much fun. Anywhere we went, we always had so much fun together.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is going in the basement and going through mom's shoes and having her reorganize them like as soon as you touch them. I mean, my mom has the I don't want to call it OCD, but
I used to have OCD really bad, and one of my most challenging moments as a mother with Alyssa specifically, when Hannah was a little baby, she came out and she was just pristine. This child, if she got a speck of water, dirt on her, she was freaking out. I always had to carry at least 6 outfits with me everywhere we went, so that in the event something happened, Hannah had a fresh outfit change. And then I had Alyssa come along, who was filthy.
Yeah.
This child
I wasn't say filthy. I was just rough around that.
She was filthy. That child, she loved to just be dirty all the time. And I had OCD back then. I believe, one of my issues Everything always had to be
challenged you.
perfect.
I
Literally,
challenged
vacuum
you.
lines in the carpet.
Yes.
But specifically when it came to laundry, I would really be excessive about the
Yeah.
laundry, and I would fold everything
That's why I
perfectly and color
challenged you.
coordinate and arrange it by length. And I would go into Alyssa's room and I would put the things in her drawer and hang them up in her closet. And before my back was turned and I was out of the room, she was already just pulling things out of the drawers, ripping the things off of the
It was just so easy.
I know, but I remember
It's
taking it
just
so personal.
I know.
Why do you want to do this to me? You don't even care.
I think though, looking back, it's because I knew it would drive you nuts.
Evil.
I wasn't evil. It was like, why does this bother you so much? And since it bothered you, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing it until it doesn't bother you.
Well, you both taught me well, because I know that when we went on our own and we were living at that apartment over in Savannah, and I was getting my master's and working full time and doing bartending nights and weekends, I would be so exhausted and I would be begging you guys for help. And I used to get irritated by the way that you would put the dishes in the dishwasher, and then you would get frustrated and you'd be like, well, why am I even helping you? It's never good enough. And I had to surrender. I literally had to surrender. I had to let go of the control, and done was better than
Nothing,
perfect.
yeah.
And so it really did allow for me to let go of my perfectionism and learn how to become a professional half-asser. And I am so grateful for you guys helping to cultivate and nurture that in me, because it's freed up a lot of time in my life.
I wouldn't
and
say
reduced a lot of stress.
I would just say being more appreciative for the effort that goes into it, because we don't do things necessarily half-ass. It's more of we're doing it to get it done.
Yeah, but my OCD used to be
Like
really bad.
exactly. And so it was like, let's just be appreciative for the effort.
Well, another thing that I tell my friends all the time, I don't know why I always want to tell them this. I'm like, one of my favorite memories when I was younger was my mom loved to clean, and we would spend the day like deep cleaning the house. Yeah. So now I have the OCD and I like to clean all the time. Like that is my therapy. So I think that's just funny. That's because like I love cleaning, and I just think back when we were younger and we would play with the big stereo. We would play the music throughout the house, and we would just have so much fun doing it.
Yeah, it was the best. We did have a lot of fun. Did a lot of fun things. Oh man.
Yes.
Well, guys, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners today?
I just want to say thank you for supporting my mother and her podcast, because she has so much wisdom to share with the world, and people that listen and support her are supporting us and making our dreams manifest into real life. So thank you, and I hope everyone comes in with open ears and has something they can take from this, even if it's not as relatable, but just sharing our story helps us grow and makes us stronger and
helps
more
to heal the wounds.
It does. So
it encourages that honest, open conversation. Sitting here and listening to things from your perspective isn't easy, but
it's hard to talk about.
It is hard to talk about, but it's necessary. And I can't judge, I can't judge myself. I can't judge either of you. We just have to really hold space for one another and recognize that no matter what your perspective of the experience was, that there was pain and suffering that came with that. And that pain and suffering needs to be honored with holding space, compassion, love, and grace for each other, and continued support to be there for one another, and know that anything is possible if you choose to put the work in. And sometimes the work is hard. It hurts. It's not easy, but that's the real work, because if you don't go there to have those conversations, understand those different perspectives, you just continue to harbor more pain, more resentment, more anger, more guilt, more shame. And we never get to that place that we truly want to be. So I honor both of you for honoring me, and I love you. You guys are my world.
Thank you so much. We're so proud of you.
We are.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And like I said, if you have any questions, if there's anything that you, need support with, or want to know more about, by all means, let us know. And if you like these trio podcasts, let us know, and we'd be happy to do more. I love sharing my life with the girls and living our dreams.
On a side note, Hannah and I have been talking about creating a podcast of our own for a while now.
I know.
And we are some funny girls.
But it's gonna be like a
It's a little different. We're a little bit more rough around the edges,
a little bit.
Share some stories. We're living our 20s in California, plus, the experiences.
And our life is a movie, and it deserves to be told.
We're the main characters. Both of our lives, so.
I love you, girls.
So stay tuned.
Well,
for more.
Mama will support you in whatever you choose to do.
So,
but chase your dreams.
Thank you.
Well, we love you all. Have a blessed Mother's
Happy
Day.
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thanks for joining us on the Think Yourself Healthy podcast. Make sure you leave a review and let me know what you think. I love reading your feedback. Come hang out with me on Instagram at Heather Duranja, and don't forget to take a screenshot that you're listening to the podcast and tag me. I love to share it. See you on the next episode.